Honorable Madam Vice Chancellor, Dr. Nazma Akhtar Sahiba, Dr. R. Ramanan, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Center Mission, Government of India, and the chief guest of today's symposium, Dr. Nazim Hussain Al Jafri, the Registrar of Jamia Millia Islamia, Mr. Deepan Sahu from Ministry of Education and keynote speaker of the today's symposium, distinguished panelists, all deans, heads, directors, dignitaries, and participants. Very good morning to everyone. I am Professor Kamrul Hassan from the Department of Civil Engineering, Jamia Millia Islamia. I, on behalf of Jamia, feel privileged and honored to welcome you all to the e-symposium on National Innovation and Startup Policy for HEIs as a foundation path towards Atma Nirbhar Bharat, organized by the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Jamia Millia Islamia. We are overwhelmed with the response by the scientific research community, academia and industries, and budding entrepreneurs. We have more than 200 participants. The enthusiastic response reflects the hope of the society in innovation and startups initiated by the Government of India to realize its dream of Atma Nirbhar Bharat. I believe that this symposium will showcase the challenging opportunities available for innovators and entrepreneurs. To deliver the welcome address, it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Nazim Hussain Al Jafri, the Registrar of Jamia Millia Islamia. Dr. Nazim Hussain Al Jafri has done his doctorate in ancient Indian history and archaeology. He has extensively contributed to the academics in various capacities, including Deputy Registrar at the AMU, Registrar at the AMU, and many other universities as a registrar with great distinction. Dr. Jafri, apart from contributing as an enabler in the effective implementation of various academic processes and restructuring administrative systems in the university ecosystem, has also published books on proto-historic culture in India, that more than 5 books, and published several papers in national and international journals. Jamia Millia Islamia look forward with great hope to benefit from his wide exposure both in academics and academic administration. Now, may I request Dr. Nazim Hussain Al Jafri to deliver his welcome address. Dr. Jafri, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kamrul Hassan. Esteemed Chief Guest of this symposium, Dr. Ramanan Ramanathan, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission, Government of India. Honorable Chair of this symposium, Professor Nazma Akhtar, Vice Chancellor, Jamia Millia Islamia. Respected keynote speaker, Mr. Deepan Sahu, Assistant Innovation Director, Ministry of Education, Innovation Cell, eminent panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone. I welcome all of you in this e-symposium on National Innovation and Startup Policy of Higher Education as a foundation path towards Atma Bharat Nirbhar. Atma Bharat Nirbhar inherits self-reliant India or self-sufficient India and sets outside a policy framework coined by Honorable Prime Minister of India to make India an important part of the global economy. On presenting this visionary idea, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has said Atma Nirbhar Bharat is not about being self-contained or being close to the world. It is about being self-sustaining and self-generating. It automatically implies to pursue policies that promote efficiency and equity. In order to achieve this goal, Government of India is framing and implementing a lot of policies in this direction. National Innovation and Startup Policy is one of these ambitious schemes which have the real promise to implement Prime Minister's vision on the ground. As an integral part of the academic symposium of the e-symposium of the country, Jamia Millia Islamia understands its responsibility to be a part of this visionary idea and working towards the implement of such policies. Decisions, debates, and idea exchange are very important factors for a robust ecosystem. Keeping this in view, Jamia Millia Islamia is always keen to provide the platform for such events, the symposium on national innovation and set up policy for higher education as a foundation path towards Atma Nirbhar Bharat. Is one of such platforms which will hopefully extremely beneficial for the startup ecosystem of the university. With these words, I conclude my address and request the Kamrul Hassan Saab to proceed further in the program.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging and enlightening welcome address. Now we have Dr. Deepan Sahu as the keynote speaker for today's symposium. Mr. Deepan Sahu is Assistant Innovation Director at Innovation Cell of Ministry of Education, housed at AICTE, New Delhi. His association with AICTE is since 2017, and he is the core member of the implementation team for National Innovation and Startup Policy (NISP) for higher education institutions, and a lead role in designing and implementation of numbers of other major national policy initiatives, such as Atal Ranking of Institutions on Innovation and Achievement, Institutions Innovation Council, and various programs related to innovation, incubation, and entrepreneurship related policy programs. He holds an undergraduate degree in fishery sciences from Sri Venkateswara Veterinary University and has 2 master's degrees, one MBA in rural management from State University, and the second master's degree in development policy from the Korea Development Institute, a South Korean government policy think tank. Now, may I request Dr. Deepan Sahu to deliver his keynote address. Dr. Sahu, please.
Thank you, Hassanji, for the introduction. Good morning to all, and my sincere thanks to Jamia Millia Islamia University and Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship for organizing this beautiful e-symposium on the topic that National Innovation and Startup Policy for Higher Education Institutions and connecting with the Atma Nirbhar Bharat. So before I start, I thank the respected panel members, Registrar Saab, Vice Chancellor Madam, and the organizing members at university. And also my sincere thanks to Ramnan sir, who is a key contributor and one of the architects of building this innovation ecosystem in our country. And let's talk about today's topic, that how this NISP, this National Innovation and Startup Policy, that is targeting our higher educational institutions to make it innovative and entrepreneurial, and how it is contributing to the Atma Nirbhar Bharat. And I can see that there are a number of themes we all are going to hear, and there are experts are there to say their view. But let me brief about what are the initiatives at central government level and how the Ministry of Education and AICTE, UGC, they are doing their part to achieve this goal of making new India. India is aiming to achieve or to reach a $5 trillion economy by 2025. And to achieve this goal, India has initiated a number of policy initiatives and reforms initiated by various ministries and the departments. You can name it as a Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, or it is a Ministry of Science, Ministry of Education, and other ministries are also having similar kind of programs to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. But here, I'm really glad to see Ramnan sir who is heading this Atal Innovation Mission at Niti Aayog, and from ministry side, the innovation cell established by Ministry of Education at AICT also have a number of policy initiatives to make our higher educational institutions innovative, because education is the foundation, and the quality education actually has great role to make this goal to happen. And towards this, the recent policy reform of national education policy is great role to play, because the recent edition of national education policy is focusing on the quality education, and it is greatly emphasizing upon innovation and entrepreneurship and research as integral part of the policy, and it highlights that interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach at education level, and trying to break the barrier of private and government, and equitable focusing on research, starting from school level to the up to the highest level of the academic. So now comes to the how this innovation cell at Ministry of Education is actually doing since last 3 years. As all of you know that when government started this Stand Up India and Startup India Action Plan in 2016, soon AICT came up with the policy called AICT Student Startup Policy in November 2016, but it was primarily focusing on the technical institution. But later ministry has said that let it make it a national innovation and startup policy, and established this innovation cell at AICT, focusing on all technical, also the non-technical institutions. Currently, India has more than 51,000 higher educational institutions. More than 45 million students are studying in this institution. But the irony is that only 1% of the total higher educational institutions are actually doing some innovation and entrepreneurship. When we started the program 3 years back, good part is that in last 3 years, we have achieved to the 5%, and more than 5,000 institutions have established and streamlined their innovation ecosystem in the campus. They have trained faculties, and they're playing the role of mentor to provide supports and guidance to the student innovations and startups. And this number of faculty mentors has increased to the 15,000 in last 2 years. So we have created a very network of these faculty mentors. Those are helping the students, and simultaneously also we have established a IIC model that is called Institutions Innovation Council model to streamline and to strengthen the campus ecosystem by ensuring that throughout the year activities related to innovation, entrepreneurship and IPR, and helping the institute to mobilize the resources from the different avenues and different sources, and deploying them and generating impact at the ground. So this is the IIC model, is equipped with incentive and a decentralized way of promoting innovation and supporting innovation and entrepreneurship at the campus level. Another initiative at the of ministry is called, we have framed one ranking framework. It is called Atal Ranking of Institutions and on Innovation Achievements, which converted the subjective nature of the ecosystem into objective nature by categorizing the whole ecosystem exist in the higher educational institutions into measurable form. So we are helping the institutions to demonstrate their innovation and entrepreneurship efforts by providing data and informations in the portal, and it helps the institute to measure their ecosystem, and they know in which component they are strong and in which component they are weak. Accordingly, they can compare with other institutions' ecosystem. Also, they can focus their efforts and they can channelize the resources to strengthen that ecosystem further. Another major program at Ministry of Education is called Conducting the Hackathons. So we have established a culture of hackathons in institutions, especially in technical institutions. And we started with the software hackathon, then we gone to the level of hardware hackathon, and slowly we get into the international hackathons. And currently, Ministry of Education is organizing ASEAN hackathon, and is kind of an international hackathon. Also, we're conducting toy hackathon, starting from school to the higher education. So this is a kind of a hackathon culture we have developed, which is primarily focusing on the creative tendency development and problem-solving attitude development among the students. And another policy initiative of Ministry of Education, that we have designed a new program called MBA or PGDM in Innovation, Entrepreneurship, Venture Development, and currently we have given approval to 15 higher educational institutions, those are having these incubation units to run this academic program, this 2 years program, to produce job creators rather than the job providers. So these are some policy programs, and definitely this NISP is the umbrella program to connect and to integrate all these policy initiatives at institutional level and to generate the impact and to produce more innovators and entrepreneurs from Indian higher educational institutions. This NISP has provisioned various clauses, and also it prescribes suggestions to the institutions to develop an action plan at the institute level with mission statement, with targets and the milestones, and customized action plans to put all kind of resources and develop a synchronized and also synergic approach at the institute level to achieve the goal of a vibrant and dynamic startup and innovation ecosystem at in the campuses. And this IIC model is connecting all these individual startup ecosystem or the campus ecosystem, and at present more than 3,000 institutions have already established these IICs. More than 2,000 institutions are participating in this Atal ranking, and as I said, that more than 20,000 faculties already trained on this innovation entrepreneurship, and they're acting as a mentor, and we designate them as an innovation ambassador. So these are the kind of policy initiatives and the results and the impacts we are creating at the national level, and we hope then this number of institutes participation already has increased from 1% to the 5%, and when it will reach to the 10%, definitely India's position in the global mapping will goes from third position to the first position, and already these programs are contributing immensely to moving up India's position from 86th position in Global Innovation Index in 2016 to 48th position in Global Innovation Index in 2020. So we are aiming that this India's position will move from this 48th position to top 25 position in next 4 to 5 years. So this is the what target we have, and I feel myself blessed that I am part of this big community and vibrant community of incubation units, pre-incubation units, and startup community and student innovators and student entrepreneurs. The National Innovation Contest that we have institutionalized 2 years back, now every year we are getting more than 35,000 student innovators. They are participating, and we are providing funding support, incubation support to produce student innovators and student entrepreneurs. So this is the kind of culture we are developing, and good part is that movement has already been created. The momentum is every day, it is getting intensified, and when every institute will take part and they will contribute their part, then definitely India will achieve the goal of $5 trillion economy by 2025. So with this, I thank again the university for organizing this beautiful symposium, and there are so many experts. They are going to share their experience and also the vision, and I believe the participants will gain, and they will also try to inculcate this vision, and they will contribute to the nation building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deepan Sahu, for making a comprehensive presentation about the roles and initiative of the Innovation Cell of Ministry of Education. Now we have with us Dr. R. Ramanan, the chief guest of today's symposium. Dr. R. Ramanan is the mission director of the Atal Innovation Mission, a flagship national innovation initiative of the Prime Minister and the Government of India. Under the Niti Aayog, he is also additional secretary Niti Aayog. The aims goals are to establish and promote a vibrant culture of the innovation and entrepreneurship nationwide. As the mission director of AIM, Dr. Ramanan has been instrumental to date in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives, resulting in 10,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs being established in schools nationwide, with 5,000 plus operational in 650 plus districts, and over 2 million students having access to innovative tools and technologies like 3D printers, robotics, miniaturized electronics, do-it-yourself kits. 102 Atal Incubation Centers being established in university and industry, hosting startups. 24 Atal New India Challenges to stimulate product innovation along with the ministries of India. One of the largest mentorship networks with over 10,000 plus registration nationwide. AIM, InnoNet, to mentor young school students and startups in the tinkering labs and the incubators. Dr. Ramnan was previously Managing Director and CEO of the CMC Limited, a subsidiary of the globally acclaimed Tata Consultancy Services. We are privileged to have Dr. Ramnan with us this morning as a chief guest. May I request Dr. Ramnan for his address? Dr. Ramnan, please.
Thank you, Dr. Hussain and Hassan, and good morning to everybody who has logged on to this call. My special thanks to the Vice Chancellor, Najma ji, to Dr. Naseem Hussain Al-Jafri, to Dr. Abdul Shakur, and of course, fellow panelists and speaker Dipan Sahu, who has so eloquently brought out the need and the importance of innovation and innovation startup policies in the country. Before I proceed ahead, let me hope that every one of you is hale and hearty in spite of these very difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and that all of you are practicing the advocated safeguards to keep yourself healthy and safe. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege for me to be able to participate in this deliberation, which everyone in India should be very passionate about and which I am very passionate about. And that is a deliberation on the role of innovation startups in our Indian environment, the need for policies enabling the same, and the role of universities like the esteemed Jamia University, which is more than 100 years old and which has had so many accomplishments to its credit. I want to congratulate the university for its various achievements under the leadership of the Vice Chancellor and several other chancellors who have been before them. And it is important that the university becomes a vital part of the ecosystem for driving innovation and entrepreneurship across the length of our country. The theme is about Atma Nirbhar Bharat and how Atma Nirbhar Bharat can be embraced by everyone in the country. And the universities, the educational system has a very important role to play in the embracing of this initiative. After all, Atma Nirbhar Bharat is about creating a self-reliant India. And the Honorable Prime Minister in his clarion call of Atma Nirbhar Bharat outlined the importance of 5 pillars which drive Atma Nirbhar Bharat. First and foremost is the pillar of the demographic dividend. How do we ensure that our country, which is the youngest country in the world, which is the largest sovereign democracy in the world, and which has more than 1.3 billion people, out of which over 65% of our country is under 35 years old, a country which has 1.4 million schools, over 10,500 engineering and related institutions, and over 39,000 colleges, is able to galvanize, catalyze, accelerate a spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship in our young students, from our schools, from our universities, from the industry. And how do we ensure that the hopes of 1.3 billion people in our country are met by these 150 million to 200 million young students who are going to be entering into the workplace? After all, this energy, this youthful energy that is available to our country is unmatchable in most of the other countries. And if we don't accelerate and empower our young students in our universities, in our schools, with the spirit of innovation and with the spirit of entrepreneurship, then it is ours to lose. So we have to ensure that this pillar of demographic dividend, which is a very important pillar of the Atma Nirbhar Bharat, is catalyzed into a spirit of problem-solving, innovative thinking. And as Dipan pointed out, how do we create a nation of job creators, not just job seekers? The second pillar that the Honorable Prime Minister in his clarion call identified was a pillar of infrastructure. We are a very large country. We have over 715 districts in our country. We have more than 4,000 small towns and cities. We have 650,000 villages. We have only 8 tier 1 cities. And we have 70 to 80% of the population flocking or trying to come to these 8 tier 1 cities for their livelihood, for their sustainability, for improving their lives. How do we ensure that our infrastructure across the country improves and an ecosystem of innovation, local and local job creation is enabled? We need thousands of hubs of innovation and job creation. We need hundreds of smart cities, not just 8 tier 1 cities. We need to ensure that the 650,000 villages that we have in our country also become local hubs of innovation and job creation. Now, that is only possible if a very holistic approach is taken to ensure that. And a holistic approach is possible only by driving innovation, entrepreneurship, skill development on a massive scale. So universities have to calibrate how you can make this happen. How you can not only ensure that the students of your university get the benefit of superior education, the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship, but how can you reach across to all the other places and enable that? And that is possible because of the third pillar that we are talking about, and that is the pillar of technology. Technology is becoming affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. If you want to ensure that we bring the benefits of education, innovation, and entrepreneurship to every nook and corner of the country, you need to ensure that our people, our demographic dividend, our young students are educated in the latest technologies upon which solutions are being created. After all, we have technologies which are becoming affordable and accessible to you, and they are advancing at a very rapid rate. 3D printing is changing the way you are conceptualizing, designing, prototyping, and manufacturing a product right in front of your eyes. You don't need a large manufacturing plant to be able to do that. Robotics is driving the next level of productivity and automation. Cloud services are enabling you to reach any part of the globe, from Salem to San Francisco, from Sikkim to Seattle. You are able to market your product or your service from any part of the country, no matter how remote it is, how hilly or tribal it is, to any other part of the world. So how do you leverage technology and cloud services? And then you have IoT technologies, which are getting integrated, sensor technology, which are getting integrated into man, machine, device, soil, and space. And this is enabling tremendous amount of data to be collected and communicated through very powerful communication networks. 5G technologies, wireless technologies, satellite technologies are making tremendous advances. As a result of which, you are able to communicate data from multiple sources, including the devices, sensor devices, which are being integrated, like I said, in man, machine, plant, soil, or space, to large computers or small computers and very advanced supercomputing, nano computing technologies. And then you have software engineering, which has reshaping the way we are conceiving solutions across the world. Very powerful algorithms are now possible with big data analytics to be able to process these large amounts of data and identify patterns and make decisions. And that is why technologies like artificial intelligence is making a lot of sense today to all of us. Artificial intelligence has been talked about even 30 years or 40 years ago. When I was in school, they used to talk about artificial intelligence. But never in the history of the world and never in the history of our country does artificial intelligence make so much sense. Because now you have the ability to process, because of advanced computing, advanced communication, advanced sensor technologies, tremendous amounts of data to mimic human intelligence and to be able to create solutions for our people. And we have many challenges. That comes to the next pillar, the pillar of socio-economic demand. Why is socio-economic demand and progress so very important? The socio-economic progress is very important because we have still many, many challenges in our country. 22% of our country is below the poverty line. 44% of our country is agri-economy based. 115 of the 715 districts are aspirational districts, which are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of basic access to healthcare, education, clean drinking water, sanitation, waste management, and even access to manufacturing and job creation. So we need to ensure that these challenges are addressed. The socio-economic divides are bridged. The digital divides and the economic divides between the have and the have-nots have to be eliminated. Unless we do that, we will not be able to grow as a nation in a holistic manner. there will be a lopsided development and a great division between the haves and the have-nots. And that will lead to instability and non-sustainability. And finally, you have the pillar of demand. The pillar of demand of 1.3 billion people in our country is diverse. It is large. You don't need to look elsewhere or any foreign market for being able to create a product and a solution and market it. You have our country to market our product. And therefore, we have this unique opportunity, all of us, to create an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship that will promote thousands and millions of new job creators, and that will create innovations to solve all our problems. And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission has been launched across the country by the Honorable Prime Minister to create and promote that ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship that will enable all of this. At a school level, we are launching thousands of tinkering labs, which are dedicated innovation workspaces where young school students from grade 6 to grade 12 are able to understand, play with, tinker with, innovate with latest technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT, or augmented reality and virtual reality to create solutions for problems they see in and around the community. We need to train our young students into the art of problem identification, problem solving, design thinking, critical thinking, and 21st century skills like collaboration and teamwork, without which you will not be able to create an innovative mind. And universities have to play a very important role in ensuring this. Innovation and courses on entrepreneurship is very important for a university to be able to disseminate to its students and encourage in them innovation labs, through innovation labs in your university and the innovation cell that Vipin Sahu talked about, to promote innovation. Look at projects in community. Go to adopt the nearest village. I do hope that Jamia University has adopted some villages in and around Delhi or any other place, because that is very important for the students to empathize. Design thinking starts with empathy, to look at the problems of the community and see how you can be a solver of the problem. And therefore, all these 5 pillars, which are glued by the pillar of technology, is very important for us to drive innovation across the length and breadth of the country. The Atal Innovation Mission has also been setting up world-class incubators to foster world-class startups. Over 100 incubators have been selected and 70 of them are operational. And just in the last 2 years, 1,800 startups have come out of the system, with more than 550 women-led startups. Now, that is, again, a very important point. 49% of our country is women and girl child. We need to ensure that in our approach towards innovation and entrepreneurship, we encourage the girl child, the woman entrepreneur, and ensure that at least 50% of our entrepreneurs are women. We have only 13% of our entrepreneurs as women as of today. Now, that's a very small number. We have a lot of our women who are educated but do not have the opportunity to become entrepreneurs and drive startups. That has to be encouraged through policy and through education and awareness. After all, every human being should be able to achieve their maximum potential through creative ability, through expressing their creative innovativeness. All of us are born innovators. Nobody taught us how to stand. We looked at the world around us. We fell down. We stood up again. We fell down again, and we stood up again. But every time we stood up, we innovated. And through that innovation, we started walking, we started running, we started participating in marathons. Some of us have won Olympics. Now, that is what is the power of human innovation. And that is there in every human being. How do you unleash that power of innovation, that creativity, to make an impact to the rest of the world? And therefore, it is very important for us to encourage startups and incubators. Now, Atal Innovation Mission has also setting up community innovation centers. Now, why is this so important? Like I said, we have 650,000 villages. So how do you convert every village and every district into a local hub of innovation and job creation? That is important. If you are in Goa, how do you use innovation to drive the industry of fishing industry, or the cashew nut industry, or the industry related to shipbuilding or to tourism? So creating these understanding what that geography and that community needs and spurring them into job creation and skill development is very important. And finally, the Atal Innovation Mission has also been launching what are known as Atal New India Challenges. I think every university can play a role in launching these challenges and ensuring that we identify new solutions for problems that we see. These solutions are important not only from a national at a socio-economic level, but also important to stimulate the MSME industry, in which 70% of our labor is tied to the MSME industry. We have only 29% of our GDP coming out of the MSME industry. We need to grow it to 50%. So all of this is possible if we have a tremendous focus in unleashing the creative potential of our young students through innovation, through entrepreneurship. India has never lacked for great innovators, thinkers, engineers, or scientists. You have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, you have an Arvind Krishna heading IBM, you have a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe. You have many Indians reading various universities abroad. Whenever Indians get access to an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship, they rise to their full potential. That is what the Jamia University should try to aspire and ensure that every student from their university is able to unleash their creative potential and rise to the highest levels of eminence that society can offer. And in the process, make sure that we drive not just economic prosperity, but also social prosperity. If we do that, we would be able to achieve the Atma Nirbhar Bharat of our dream. As the great Abdul Kalam said, dream big and you will achieve great things. Dream small and you will be limited by your own dreams. He came from a small, humble town of Rameshwaram, a town only known for few temples, maybe a mosque, one or two universities, a few schools, but thousands of fishing boats. But from such a remote town came one of the finest scientists India has ever seen, came one of the finest human beings that grace our planet. He rose on to become the President of India. We have the possibility of 1,000 Abdul Kalams blossoming from our country and making national impact. Let us all work together to ensure the same. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this very important occasion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramnan Saab, for your wonderful presentation on the innovation and startups and its significance in making India Atma Nirbhar Bharat with the help of these initiatives of the innovation and startups. And hope we will have your continued support in future to make Jamia one of the hub of innovators and startups. Thank you once again, sir. Now, it's our pleasure and honor to have Madam Vice Chancellor, Professor Nazma Akhtar Sahiba, with us to enlighten us with her views and share her words of the wisdom. She has been a great driving force, not only for this symposium, but all academic activities in Jamia. Professor Nazma Akhtar is the first women Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamia. Dr. Akhtar studied at Aligarh Muslim University, where she was a gold medalist and a recipient of National Science Talent Scholarship. She has a PhD in education from Kurukshetra University. She received a Commonwealth Fellowship to study University Administration at the University of Warwick, UK, and also trained at the Institute for European Environmental Policy, Paris, France. Professor Akhtar worked for 15 years at the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, NIPA, leading courses for senior officials from 130 countries. She established the first state-level management institute at Allahabad and was the controller of examination and director of academic programs at Aligarh Muslim University. She has been a consultant to UNESCO, UNICEF, and DANIDA. Professor Akhtar has been an advocate for gender equity and is known for leading teams of diverse cultural backgrounds. Jamia has achieved phenomenal accolades under the visionary leadership of our Vice Chancellor, Madam. Continuous efforts of entire Jamia fraternity and Madam Vice Chancellor's dynamic guidance have brought Jamia in the league of the premier institution. It is among top 10 universities in the country as per NIRF ranking and top among central universities by MHRD. Thanks, Madam Vice Chancellor, for your kind leadership. May I now request you to say your enlightening words for the symposium. Madam Vice Chancellor, please.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and then not only to speak here, but also to listen to such people like Dr. Ramanan and Mr. Deepan Sahu, who have spoken till now, and I'm full of commitment that I am going to take Jamia to be one of the leading institutions in this area. And it's a right time to start. We are going to start a department of design and innovation, and all the ideas that came from Dr. Ramanathan's address were filling up what we are going to do in that. So let me begin. The chief guest, Dr. Ramanathan, the registrar, Dr. Nazim Hussain Jafri, the keynote address, keynote speaker, Mr. Deepan Sahu, all the learned panelists, participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. And it's a good day to speak about innovation with such nice sunshine outside. The Ministry of Education, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, has put a thrust on innovation and entrepreneurship. The National Innovation and Startup Policy (NISP) 2019 is the offspring of this initiative. The National Innovation and Startup Policy provides foundation for promoting innovation and entrepreneurship among the students, faculties, and all stakeholders of higher education institutions. We are mainly dealing with the institutions right now. Otherwise, it is beyond education department and beyond education ministry also. The National Innovation and Startup Policy sets out the framework for India's endeavor to become $5 trillion economy by 2025, as envisioned in the strong leadership of our visionary Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. It is obligatory for the higher education institution to develop an innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem based on the provisions of NISP. It is almost compulsory, and every institution should go for it. The present is a symposium on NISP for the higher education institutions as a foundation path towards Atma Nirbhar Bharat is a very apt topic towards the implementation of NISP ecosystem, and it's the right time that we discuss about it and learn something more and do something more. I'm very happy to have with us Dr. Ramanathan, who is one of the brains behind NISP, and also Mr. Deepan Sahu, who is one of the enablers for NISP implementation. We all know that if the thoughts are correct and if the implementation is correct and known to those who are implementing it, then we are going to be successful in implementing it. So I'm happy that both the speakers today who have spoken till now are from the place where this program is coming, and with the ideas, giving us the ideas with which this is to be implemented. The panelists who are here today for this event, too, they come from the front line of this bandwagon, and they have actually done it in the field. Jamia Millia Islamia let me introduce my university. Jamia Millia Islamia is among the top-rung central universities and has very distinct legacy. I'm happy that Jamia is in its centenary year. It has completed 100 years of its existence and has proven its credentials by achieving a distinction in terms of NIRF ranking, which is uh, in the top 10, as well as as it is marching ahead in various global rankings too. I won't be spelling them out, but I'll ask you to find some time to see where Jamia stands. Jamia aspires to carry forward its legacy and become a leading hub for startups, entrepreneurship, and contribute to India's endeavor for Atma Nirbhar Bharat and become a global economic power. We all are aspiring for it. I would like to mention that Jamia has already established the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship ahead of the launch of NISP in the year 2014, which is a symbol of our proactive approach towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. Presently, the CIE, Center for Innovation, focuses on livelihood business incubators and Design Innovation Center also. The Design Innovation Center is supported by the Ministry of Education and it runs a PG diploma program, whereas the livelihood business incubator is supported by MSME, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. The NISP policy document has been prepared by the CIE at Jamia. It has already been prepared, and LBI is under the Aspire scheme of Ministry of MSME and has trained hundreds of community people, especially women, to promote livelihood businesses in a skilled manner and to create jobs for themselves rather than seeking jobs from others. And I think that's the idea behind this innovation and startups. On the other hand, to promote the culture of innovation, we have launched the PG level 1-year diploma course with the unique curriculum of creating startup during the course itself. In the very first batch, we were able to create a couple of startups which are now at the growth stage. The present symposium, I would say, as part of the IIC activities, will unfold salient aspects and opportunities lying ahead and induce the participants to become innovators and successful entrepreneurs and contribute to Atma Nirbhar Bharat. I expect more such programs in this year and wish this even to be a great success, being the first program in this year at least. I must say that some of our students have been able to get good ranks in the hackathon, which was there in IIT, I think IIT Delhi, and also managed to get some accolades in many of these programs which are being held across the country, and that has brought a lot of, since we give them a lot of publicity saying this is the Jamia boy who has been able to do it and this is the girl from Jamia who is doing it, so others are getting impressed by that and enthusiastic about it, following, because you have to show your success stories to make others follow you. With these words, I'd like to conclude my address with the hope that this event will inspire all the participants to work towards achieving our goal of making our beloved country as Atma Nirbhar Bharat. I hope that the organizers have recorded, with the permission of course, recorded the address of both Dr. Ramanan and Mr. Deepan Shah, so that the coming programs can at least, or our institution staff as well as students may be able to see it and get impressed and enthused. Thank you. And join my registrar and the director of the Center for Innovation, Dr. Arshad Noor, to welcome you all again to Jamia and to this program. The chief guest, Dr. Ramanathan, the guest of honor, Mr. Deepan Shah, other eminent speakers whom I have not yet heard the name, but I can see a number of young faces full of enthusiasm. And this is Jamia's first program this year, but definitely not the last, with several other programs and success stories to follow. And I wish good luck for a successful program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chancellor, for your inspiring words. And I'm sure that your guidance and support the CIE of Jamia Millia Islamia will be a leading center for innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Now the next speaker is Mr. Ashu Agrawal, and he is delivering his talk on how to accelerate your startup idea. Mr. Ashu Agrawal is finance and legal professional with over 13 years of the operational experience in organizations like WHUB, Founder Institute, Des Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, Indian Angel Network, Government of Rajasthan DOIT, Business World, and many more. With a strong aptitude in predictive analytics and business intelligence, he offers functional expertise in revenue and SBU finance management, investment and corporate development, product innovation and project management, and has worked across sectors including government, media, business, consulting and innovation management, education, learning and development, venture capital, banking and financial services, and fintech. A finance and law major with a global outlook, he is a powerful networker with a deep understanding of key business drivers and focus on improving business performance and value creation of the stakeholders. He closely works with the central and state government departments on impact policies, business incubators, on new product development, entrepreneurship, workforce, skill development, and venture. Now I request Mr. Anshu Agrawal to deliver your talk. Please.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be in such august company. It's overwhelming to see the motivation at a policy level, at a governance level, at a strategy level, and at an institutional level, right? To really cultivate India into being an innovation nation. I think nothing could be more heartening for somebody like me who's been involved in this ecosystem for about 10 years now, to see all of these major pillars come together and trying to build an innovation nation. So what I'm supposed to sort of speak on is essentially on how to accelerate startups. It's a topic which is slightly more larger, but I'll try and narrow it down here at an institutional level. Or for an institution, what does it take to sort of have an institution which can create the right kind of an impact, right? A lot has been said by Mr. Sahu, a lot has been said by Mr. Ramanathan. But essentially, when I look at it, right, I look at it in three forms, right? If you have to look at or have a successful startup and the responsibility of an incubator, right, can be divided across three major pillars. First is mentor, second is market, third is money. Mentorship is a very, very critical element, right? Often a very casually and a loosely used term or terminology, and to kind of demonstrate the intent. Unfortunately, at a business level, a lot of that mentorship starts to fall apart, right? And that is largely because most of these startups that are kind of starting out are essentially in a resource-constrained environment. In a resource-constrained environment, it gets very, very difficult for a lot of experts to really come down to that level and understand those day-to-day challenges, right? Second, I think the markets have become a lot more dynamic. Mentorship for any institution is very, very critical. And I think while there is an academic support at institutional level, what is also important is to bring industry experts. And that is also very, very important because a lot of these industry experts are kind of now witnessing that change. They are part of that change. They're part of the customer acquisition process or the product development process. In an accelerator that I have built in the past called BW Accelerate, we had about 300 CEOs and CXOs who we had invited to work with the startups that we had housed, accelerated, incubated. And what we did in the process was to really shorten the learning curve for a lot of these businesses, right? They don't have to go through a typical churn, which they otherwise have to. So I very sincerely believe that as an institution, at any institution, there has to be a very strong repository of industry professionals to come in and work with academia. There has to be a formal platform. There has to be an assessment of, what does a startup require at what stage, and it's a dynamic process. So I very sincerely believe that I think there has to be a massive emphasis that any institution should have on the mentorship aspect of things. Second, very critical pillar for any institution to really sort of make an impact is market, right? And the thought process there is that if you can bring a business or a startup closer to the market, the better it is. And that is largely because, as I said earlier, the biggest of all problems for any startup is that they are living in a resource constrained environment, right? They have very little capital. They're trying to barely manage ends. And I think if there could be a facilitation where they could sort of be brought closer to the market to engage with their clients, customers, early orders, and things like that in silos, that could be very, very, that could be very, very efficient, right? That is something which sort of keeps their morale up. That's number one. Number two, that also gives them a certain understanding of what does the market expect out of them, right? In terms of the product and all of that, right? And that also really helps them identify key gap areas and future possibilities in their own product. It also helps them think of diversity around what they're doing in the space, right? And also helps them build an overall understanding. And more importantly, the revenues start to flow in, right? Which is a very, very important motivating factor for anybody who's doing business, right? So for the entire momentum to keep growing, keep going of creating startups, creating a startup is not difficult, right? Creating a startup is as easy as, just setting up an LLP or a private limited company and setting it up, right? But the real challenge is, are you going to get customers? Are you going to get clients with the limited resources that you have? Are you going to get right kind of directional advice? And all that. I think that becomes a real big challenge, right? For example, the kind of startups that we worked with, we ensured that on an average, we were bringing, at least 10, 20 customers to them, across our cohorts, right? So for example, if you had if I had 10 companies, right? So there are like 200 relationships that we would have built in the process. And that really motivated them very well. Not all startups are going to go on to raise money. But they become very, very sustainable businesses, right? Which is also very, very important because you cannot have every business which is going to be fundable. You'll have to have a lot of suppliers as well. And thus it becomes important that market proximity is built upon. It cannot happen at a national level. It has to be done at an institutional level. Institutions have to sort of build that focus, is how I see it. And I think that effort has to be done by the academia to get closer to the industry. And really collaborate with them to ensure that a lot of these services that are being built and produced in incubators at universities are accepted. The last piece that I think is very important to accelerate a startup is money. And money is very loosely talked about in this ecosystem, right? Venture capital is very loosely talked about in the ecosystem. Unfortunately for us, when we talk to a lot of startups, right? And across my 10 years, I would have spoken to at least 5,000, 7,000 startups, right? Evaluating them from investment standpoint and so on and so forth. The biggest of all problem is there's a lack of depth when you talk to a founder, right? The founder is not experimented enough. He or she doesn't has the required sensitivity to handle that money in a more sharper way, right? Unfortunately, the blame comes onto the venture capital ecosystem. With availability of resources, that is not just that area problem. That's a macro problem for the country. We've not been an equity investing nation. We are not an equity friendly nation. 3% of our savings goes into 3.5% of our savings goes into equity as an instrument, and that essentially means that there is little money to come in and at an equity level for the startups, right? And thus it becomes important that startups are prepared to know their requirements very well. Unfortunately, they have done little to really sort of build an understanding in terms of their requirement of resources, right? The planning of resources. The revenue visibility becomes much lesser. And thus is a requirement for really institutionalizing this entire process. Incubators are trying to do a reasonable job. Unfortunately, there are very few professionals who stand in the middle of, say, academia and industry and venture capital to really help them identify what are kind of things. But I think I firmly believe that from a money standpoint, there's enough of money today in the ecosystem. We are fairly ahead of where we were, say, in early 2012, 2013. There's a lot more money which is there to be invested. I think the startups have to build a lot more depth in their offering, in their product, in their cohorts, in their growth possibilities, and be very clear of the requirements. Right. The way I look at it, and what I tell to a lot of startups is that if you are not very sure of your requirement, if you land up wasting money, you are basically taking it away from somebody else who was a little more deserving than you. Thus, it becomes very, very important that business owners, founders, incubators, accelerators are very sensitive about this fact, and they're able to communicate the right kind of a requirement, and with reasonable amount of depth in their product, thought process, and focus. So I very firmly believe if you have to accelerate any business out of an incubator or an accelerator at an education institution, the institution has to bring in these three elements together, which is that of right mentorship by industry experts, by bringing them closer to the market where there is an acceptability of the product, possibility of research development with institutional partners. And third is bring in the right sensitivity around handling money, around investment, right? And I think that this framework has to continuously be looked at, evaluated from an impact standpoint, has to be assessed and reassessed. The pool has to become bigger for all of these stakeholders to sort of come together and help businesses come out, right? As I said earlier, not all businesses are going to be fundable business, but there could be some very, very good cash flow positive businesses that can be built out of incubators and accelerators. And I think that should really be the focus. The other thing is to really bring in students. Not everybody is going to become a founder. Not everybody is going to become part of the founding team, right? But to help other students become a part of it, even for a small duration, is going to be very helpful for the other students to think on innovative lines, innovation possibilities. And even if they don't become part of those particular startups for a longer term, I think they're eventually going to go on to bring in that mindset, that entrepreneurship mindset, either in their work or possibilities that they look at a future date, right? So I think I overall feel that any institution is in a very unique position to kind of create an impact which is very, very important, very significantly needed at this point of time. Mr. Sahu mentioned that there are so many education institutions that are there. I think as an evaluator, as somebody who set this policy up, this is, at a micro level, at a silo level, the combination of mentor, market, and money has to be looked at and built at an institutional level. And I think institutions need to be evaluated on all of these parameters continuously, so that you have a reasonable certainty of outcome from these institutions. My sense is, and my belief is, even if one institution delivers one successful entrepreneur in a year with the right kind of support, I think we have 20,000 strong entrepreneurs coming out every single year, which is a phenomenal number, right? My sense is institutions have a much larger appetite. I think this has to grow to a point where everybody is a stakeholder in a growth of an entrepreneur. And as I said earlier, these three things have to be focused upon, which is mentor, market, money. So with that, I would want to end the time allocated to me. Thank you so much for the lovely opportunity to be part of this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ashu Agrawal, for your wonderful talk on how to accelerate your startup idea. The next speaker is Dr. Parthsarathy Iyengar, and his topic of talk is importance of virtual venue in startup ecosystems post COVID-19. Dr. Parsati Iyengar is the founder and CEO of India Startup 360. Dr. Partha is focused on empowering startups, especially from rural India, has developed virtual tools to enable bootstrapping to financial inclusion. He is successful and result-oriented professional with vast experience in various business verticals like machine tools, instrumentation, IT, ITES, information security, talent management, branding, and merchandising, a skill development program for underprivileged sector utilizing local resources in regional industries. He has successfully carried out many projects on rural empowerment like skill development of underprivileged people for livelihood and regional employment. As a senior member of the Skill Development Authority of the Government of Chhattisgarh, he has helped more than 3,000 youth to get regional employment. His areas of interest are business development, business intelligence data using customized self-developed virtual solution and team management. May I request Dr. Parsati to deliver your talk?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's very nice connecting with a galaxy of speakers like Dr. Akhtar, Mr. Ramanathan, and other distinguished panelists also over here. It is definitely overwhelming to see such an initiative from a renowned institution like Jamia, where people take it as a benchmark to follow, and especially on the 100th year, taking such a beautiful initiative to do it. I need to congratulate Dr. Akhtar for that, and also the organizers, the IICs, and other people who have managed this show to make it happen within such a short period. I know how they have worked day and night to make this happen. And when I see the responses also, it is really heartening and overwhelming. Okay, so I would like to draw some gist from various aspects covered by Mr. Ramanathan and Mr. Deepan and also Ashu Agarwal. Okay, so I would not go into what is a virtual event, but I would definitely like to emphasize why a virtual event at this point of time. So I take reference to Ashu Agarwal's point of this mentor, market, and money. From there, I would definitely like to go ahead with my short deliberation of today's event. And as Dr. Akhtar has pointed out, they have made lot many initiations and also adapted something villages and the colleges near and around. And Deepan was talking about hardly about 5,000 university institutions have come forward over a period of 1 year or 2 years from 1% to 5%. The figures are definitely heartening. But when you look at the bare reality, as I had seen about 2-3 days back, for about 7 crore SMEs, 30% are MSMEs. There is something close to 2.1 CR. And even if you go by a law of average, if an MSME provides an employment opportunity and caters about 10 people, it is going to be a massive figure of 21 crores families being fed by an MSME. Okay, but are we really able to make it happen? All these three M's, that is your mentors and market and money. We talk about so many policies, we talk about so many initiatives and implementation, but when it comes to the bare reality, but it is not going to the person who legitimately requires it. A student studying in a leading institution like IIT or IIM or Jamia or whatever it is, they have the facilities. But what happens to an entrepreneur who has got a concept and he can definitely perform very well and he needs all these three M? Are we able to reach it out? And this is my specific question to Mr. Ramana. Yes, government has taken so many initiatives and we are doing everything possible over there. But we are successful with respect to the figures of how many incubators we have taken and how many startups that have come up and so on and so forth. But are we successful enough to reach to the bottom line, the rural public to reach the benefit and then mentor them and also market them and also provide them the money that it requires. Because you know very well at each stage of your startup, right from seed level to your growth level and so on, everywhere the money requirement is there. Maybe in the seed level, he can manage his own fund and come out. But when it comes to this level of your making a POC or whatever it is, he can get some funding. Once when the POC is successful, then he can go to the further growth level and so on. But are we able to teach them to the level of giving the education that these are the facilities available each and every level? Are we able to communicate it? How many people from a remote level that we have adapted and done it? As Ashu Agarwal had rightly pointed out, even if we are able to roll out about say 20 entrepreneurs, every institution rolling out, making it as a success, yes, we have the figures. But how far it is going to impact the GDP? How far we have served the necessity of the people who have taken this initiative to establish something? I am damn sure if a person has not got any particular mentorship or any nurturing, he is going to fail at the third month or fourth month. So there has to be a system that we adapt even the people who are there in the remote level, and we should provide them the opportunity. You have your norms and regulations stipulated over there. Okay, these are the facilities. You come and join and do it. I am not blaming the system or whatever it is, but I need an open-minded and an open site, so that we should adapt even the remote person who can at least incubate remotely. You need a platform to provide them all the facilities that is available if a person is able to join your incubation center and do it. But what about the people who are not accessible to all these facilities, who do not even have the idea of our Atal incubation centers and other facilities? There are a lot many people even there. There are a lot many private institutions doing as a CSR activity and doing and so on and so forth. Yes, let's say he has managed to manufacture or make a product. Are he able to sell the product? How we have helped? The portals are there, but has he got the knowledge of the portal? Who is going to tell him that yes, this portal is available? Why don't you come and join and all these facilities? Even after joining the portal, he needs a regular marketing activity. There needs to be a promotion for all these activities. Like lot many people, even this government portal is doing lot many things. FICCI had launched 1 year long promotional activities and so on and so forth. But those who are able to reach that particular level, they can utilize it. But what about those people who do not have that? So having this thought in mind, a virtual scenario which can adapt people who definitely require it sitting at their home. Maybe he'll not be able to come down to a big city and then stay there for 2 months or 3 months, take care of the process of the incubation and also undergo this entrepreneur development, skill development activities, and then go. The moment he goes back, is there any mechanism to watch him? Because I've definitely interacted with, I don't want to quote the name, interacted with some of the incubation centers who are providing 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs funding to the people, to the incubators who are coming and joining it. When we started an initiative in the month of December, we wanted to organize one virtual boot camp. The virtual boot camp, we did it. Of course, Dr. Shakur and so many other people, they supported us remotely, and the event was successful. I'm very proud to say that that virtual event had got more than 9,700 views. It shows the need for such a program, that people are interested to undergo these programs and then take up the things out of it. So we need to have a scenario where the system what is being provided in a particular incubation center must reach the remotest place, and a person who is not able to follow maybe with the common language, be it Hindi or English or whatever it is. It has to reach him in his particular mother tongue, and he has to understand the process. There needs to be a mentor who is assigned to him, and then who is able to guide him right from the different stages. So with these things in mind, definitely we have taken one step ahead, and then to go there, conduct some periodical boot camps virtually, calling all these mentors and then providing them various guidelines to them. After the incubation, okay, if they are successful, if they are able to get the funding, they are able to manufacture it. We have developed some virtual platform to conduct even an expo virtually over there, sitting over there, and keep they can showcase the product, they can interact with the people internationally, not only within India, internationally. We have made our arrangements. Maybe in the month of March, on Women's Day, we have worked out with on a private foundation of a leading bank. I don't want to brand anybody. We have come out with an expo wherein the people sitting at a remote village can showcase their product. A 3-day expo, and we are definitely trying to connect with the people in Middle East, people in Far East, maybe in the UK, US, and so on and so forth. People have a look at it, and they have an opportunity to have a product which is being made in the remotest place of the country is able to reach globally, and some amount of demand created for them. And post that event, definitely we are also coming out with an exclusive e-commerce portal which will be able to market the product produced like this. But there needs to be some norms like okay, your registration, GST, and so on and so forth. So these parameters are definitely coming in as a hurdle. We are quite sure that okay, as a community, they will be able to overcome and do it. So what I request to all the stakeholders, or at least all the panelists and the chief guests present over here, please don't stop this activity at this point. Please take it to even to the remotest place. Try to adapt them, if not physically, try to adapt them virtually. Please understand the importance of the virtual platforms required so that we can adapt people, and then we can produce more and more entrepreneurs and come out with more and more successful startups, so that the GDP is improved, and at the bottom line their livelihood is ensured. He may not be able to do in lakhs and crores. Even if he is able to do a turnover of about, let's say, 40,000-50,000 per month, and if he is able to make up 15,000-20,000 rupees to his family, definitely it is going to be a big achievement. So with this, my humble views, I just leave it to the juries to have a further discussion upon that, and think your give your thought process. And thank you very much for the opportunity. We can discuss offline what are the initiatives if required. We have definitely made some initiation with this level, even with some of the leading officials of Atal incubation centers at different areas. Things are definitely progressing, but again I insist that we need to adopt this virtual system and create more and more opportunity for more and more incubators. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Dr. Parthasarathy Iyengar, for delivering your talk on importance of the virtual venue in startup ecosystems post COVID-19, and sharing your experiences for the programs that you have organized during the COVID-19, and hope you have also raised many issues that has to be taken on priority basis to make these startups more effective. Now the next speaker is Mr. Abdul Shakur, and his topic of deliberation is how to accelerate a startup ecosystem through IIC at HEIs. Mr. Abdul Shakur is a serial entrepreneur, a startup enthusiast, and incubation supporter. He is a co-founder and director of Integrado Consulting Services, a unique dedicated platform to integrate the key players of a startup ecosystem. He is the CEO of Abir Food Industries. He is also the mentor of Atal Incubation Centers and Atal Tinkering Labs, Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, Government of India. He has trained in management studies at IIM Calcutta He is instrumental in strategic modeling of IIC, LBI, AICA, and ATL under MIC at MHRD, Ministry of MSME, and AIM, Niti Aayog, Government of India, at different HEIs and schools. He is accountable for startups and EDP-related activities and involved in tracking startup strategies and growth. He is in the business development and educational training functions for over 20 years and worked with various companies and educational institutions across India, including a number of MNCs. He is also the co-owner of copyrighted concepts, contents in marketing and developing startups. May I request Mr. Abdul Shakur to deliver your talk. Mr. Abdul Shakur, please.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Hassan. And very, now I think we are almost entered in the good afternoon zone. Very unfortunate that we had some initial communication errors, being the first one such major event. As a startup, I would, as an individual, I might have a lot of experience, but as a startup, I would say we are at the very beginning stage. And as you have introduced myself as a founder of this ICS platform, which is a unique platform for initially it was not the idea to have a platform like that, but because last 2-3 years I have been very closely associated with Jamia as a consultant in developing a lot of activities and coordinating with MHRD Innovation Cell as well as the Ministry of MSMEs and all those things. So what I realized, it's high time that we start doing rather than waiting someone from coming outside and showing us the path. That was the initial thought that out of which the whole thing has started building up. Unfortunately, we were hit by COVID, and which was completely unprecedented and unpredictable, and it has changed the whole world, not just our individual level, and rather it as a mass level. So it's almost like the whole world was forced to put the restart button in everybody's life, at a personal level, social level, economical level, as a nationwide, and whatever you call it. But luckily, it came as an opportunity for people like me and Mr. Ashu and everybody, Mr. Partho and Dr. Partho and everyone. I'm quite sure that we all can realize, it is just because we have been proactive on certain front. Number one, trying to connect the students, faculties, and the industries, and bring in and create a robust ecosystem within the educational institutions, especially higher education institutions like Jamia, where you have it's like I could say in my last 2-3 years experience with Jamia, I can say that this is like a nation within a campus, like where you can see from people from distance location like Ladakh and Leh, people are coming and studying at Jamia. On the other hand, you have people from Kerala and a lot of where, and so it is like the whole India is within a campus. So that's the unique and what I could see. And out of that, I was starting thinking, like, how could I had discussion with whenever I got a chance to meet Ramanan sir, Mr. Deepan Sahu, and many other people, industry peoples, and everywhere. So luckily, because I was not from the academia background, and I just graduated from institute like IIM Calcutta, so it gave me some leverage, and I am actually an accidental lander on academics, though I was completely on the corporate sector. But eventually, I think everything happens with a reason, and sometimes we need to believe in destiny. Though we don't talk much about destiny, but I believe destiny definitely have a role to play on everybody's life and everybody's health. Now, coming back to this topic, what eventually, and that MHRD has come out with, because I believe that an innovative idea or a fresh idea comes to millions of minds at the same time at the all over the world. But the question is that who is going to act on them? So trying to credit on idea level is actually a childish act, I would say, based on the facts. And everybody has pointed out the right manner. Like the initiatives are wonderful. India as a nation has been always be one of the best policy makers in the world. There's no deny and no doubt about it. But when it comes to an execution and implementation of policies, that is where we are one of the poorest, unfortunate. Of late, it has increased. Definitely, we have improved a lot in the last 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years down the line. We have definitely have improved a lot. There's no denying on that, and that gives a hope for people like us to stay in India and try to contribute as much as we can and really make it an Atma Nirbhar Bharat and self-sustained and self-reliable. Now, coming to an institutional level and bringing what we have observed, so India is a huge diversity. India's huge diversity in culture, language, ethnicity, and religion has proved to be both a curse and a blessing for startups. On the one hand, our startups' understanding of customers is often limited to certain regions where they know the local language and local people. This makes it hard for startups to scale their products to customers across the country. So that is where an institution like Jamia has a big role to play. Where you have a connectivity, there are thousands of rural students, young minds come with a lot of hope to the capital of the nation, and comes with a lot of dreams, and definitely they have the get exposed to the people internationally, not just locally. So that is where institutes like have a much higher potential than any other institute in India, I would say, because of this locational advantage and the oldness of its nature and the branding, whatever you call it. So in regards to university incubators, it was pointed out that they are often run by academics. This is one of the major reasons. No doubt, hats off to all because we have been trained by, we have been taught by, we have been groomed by our teachers and professors and lecturers, no denying their role in our lives. They are actually, definitely the role model for everyone, some way or the other. But when it comes to business, so it's completely a different scenario altogether. So no blame on anyone. It is natural, it is quite natural, and it is very obvious. It is bound to happen. So, but that is where a policy level change was needed. And I felt it is a very right moment. We have awakened before it becomes too late. The government of India has taken this initiative of, this National Innovation Startup Policy, which is a wonderful idea at a policy level, no denying, and it has put an energy to people like us all over the India, and definitely we can see things are happening. And this being an first of its kind of event in Jamia that is focused completely on entrepreneurship, innovations, and startups, being happening in 2021, being the first month, January, we have hit it bang on target. So now I'm looking forward much with much positivity to every these stakeholders within Jamia as well as outside Jamia to really take this opportunity and march forward under the new leadership of our Director of Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, CIE, Ashil sir. No denying, sir. Thanks a lot. And it was actually your courage and conviction and belief that yes, we must do as a startup everything, be it in conducting an event or be it mentoring, be it showing the path to others. Let's do it with setting an example. Lead it with examples rather than waiting for some examples to happen. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, and we'll try our level best to not to disappoint anyone who shown trust on us and in the whole system rather. So a special thanks to Ramanand sir, Mr. Deepak Sao. They within such a short time of period of notice, they made themselves available for this initiative at Jamia. So this is really wonderful, and I personally thanks everyone who has worked day and night within last 2 days. It has been a very hectic. And now coming to a solution model for the what I see the MHRD innovation cell, that the challenge is to bring all these elements together at a higher education institution level. That is the biggest challenge that today right now we are facing. The last 1 year or so, I'm quite sure Deepan sir will agree more than anyone else, because he is feeling the heat, like how to bring and bring in a collaboration manner. And luckily, this COVID-19 has come out as a blessing, I would say, in terms of going through bringing everything online, virtual. Because technology, our PM has been saying continuously about utilization or usage of technology and bringing awareness among it. But that is where, in a vernacular manner, that which Dr. Pathu was trying to focus. We need to be vernacular in nature as well. We cannot be in English. तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनना है तो हमें लोकल भी बनना पड़ेगा, वोकल फॉर लोकल भी होना पड़ेगा. So that's very important, and without that there is no way out. तो हमें with all due challenges, resource constraints, as pointed out by Mr. Ashu, everything we all know. So given the scale of India and its resource constraints, low cost, high impact solutions are required. We all know that. So everybody is working on it. So I don't want to get deep into that. So what we have done is that we have created a model of in the name of SBEST, that is Startup Business Environment Simulation Technique, which has been uniquely designed in order to achieve the solution of all the above observation in a singular manner. SBEST, Startup Business Environment Simulation Technique, is born as the process innovation of execution of IIC framework of the MIC, the Government of India, at the higher educational institutions. The SBEST model will evolve as a digital integrated platform of networked intelligence using the power of algorithm through application of artificial intelligence in collaboration with platforms like Startup Expo, and there are many other platforms which are emerging every day. And we are continuously, bringing up and networking with people to bring more and more virtual and online process to implement courses, mentoring, marketing, and reaching out and creating awareness, or helping people to even go boost innovation. We have divided in the whole model into 3 basic models: in startup mentors, startup skill trainers, startup professionals, startup companies, and angel investors. So we'll try to have a very specific role model within that and integrate them in a single manner. And for that, we request everyone to provide the suggestions, because we believe iteration, which is an essential item of a startup journey, of our design thinking process, what he said. Without iteration, without the mindset of iteration, we cannot achieve the desired goal. So we have to adopt the model of iterating again and again. So let's not waste time in pointing out the problems. Let's start our focus in finding out the solution, because every problem must have a solution with it. So that is how the fundamentals of Indian origin, हमारे जो वेदांत सिद्धांत है, I would say, as a born Indian, हमें अपने कल्चर को भी ध्यान रखना है. तो जो हमारे जो oldest जो कि if you look back, the problems, for every problem solution is there, ये हमारे वेदांत सिद्धांत में है कि कोई प्रॉब्लम एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती बिना सॉल्यूशंस के. सॉल्यूशंस होता है तभी उसका प्रॉब्लम हमारे सामने आता है. So I would say let's not waste time in just finding the problems and writing problem statements. Let's start focusing on the solutions. If there is a problem, there must be a solution. So what we have prepared as best as a solution to the problem that right now we are facing, in bringing everyone together at the real-time manner in a virtual way together, and students, faculties, and everyone. So we are hopeful that that MHRD Innovation Cell will be much proactive, as they are already proactive. So I must congratulate the whole team for today's event, and special thanks to Arshad sir for taking the courage and giving us an opportunity to prove yes, in Jamia startups can create an impact on the entire ecosystem, not just within Jamia. Thank you, and thank you VC ma'am for your time. Thank you Registrar sir, and special thanks to Dr. Partha and team. So this is a classical example. We have taken this as a challenge. We have not done this event without a purpose. We did it with a very clear purpose to experiment as well. Whether how well impact we can really make with the very execution manner. So we have taken our chances, and luckily, thanks to the Almighty, we have saved the day, and things are moving in the right direction. And with the enlightened guidance of Raman sir, who has been a tremendous force for the entire ecosystem of startup in India, There's no denying in that. So we will be continuously, sir, looking forward to you for your guidance and blessings. And thanks everyone and the team members whose names I'm not able to take right now, because there are many people who have been involved in this event for the last 2-3 days, since when Arshad sir said, yes, we have to go ahead with this. We must do it. So thanks to everyone who have been watching it. I believe they all must be watching it now. So I deeply thanks each of you. Okay. So, and we are looking forward to be a part together in this journey, and I'm confident we will be more aggressive now within Jamia as well as outside Jamia. Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity for showcasing what the work we have been doing completely within the guideline framework of the NISP. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.
And it looks like that Professor Kamrul Hassan is facing some kind of difficulty, and he's not available as of now. So the next turn is mine. So probably if everything is fine, I can take this up and introduce myself and take this journey forward. So myself, Azam Ghani, and then I did my engineering from Jamia Millia Islamia in 2007 in electronics and communication. And since then, I have been into the startups, innovation, and pro education. So when I was invited for this particular thing, and I was more than happy because these three passionate things were combining together. One, the educational institution, the innovation, and the startups. So I right away accepted that I'm going to take this opportunity to discuss about the importance of intellectual property rights for these startups, like the innovations for these startups. And I would right away start with my presentation. And my focus of the presentation is, of course, the students. And many of you might already have the idea about the...
Dr. Azam Ghani, may I take 1 minute to introduce?
Yes,
you?
please.
Sorry, because I have suddenly disconnected. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry for that.
No worries. I always have the experience of this one, so I right away took the chance and then started it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So now we have three presentations continuously on how to accelerate the startups. Mm-hmm. One by Mr. Ashu Agrawal, then Dr. Parthasarathi, and Mr. Abdul Shakur. Now we are moving to the next dimension of the startups, that is IPR issues, intellectual property right issues. And the speaker for that topic is Mr. Azam Ghani, and he will be delivering his talk on importance of IPR for startups. Mr. Ghani.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Azam Ghani is a strong innovation supporter and IP visionary. He is among top 300 IP strategists of the world as per 2017 IEM Strategist 300 list. He is the founder and executive director at International Intellectual Property Law Association, IIPLA. Azam's IIPLA initiative has impressed the whole IP community with not only its rapid growth, but also its acceptance in the IP community as a forum for exchange and learning for worldwide IP protection and commercialization strategies. Together with being an innovation supporter and IP visionary, Azam is a core IP strategist. He advises its clients in IP development strategy, IP management strategy, and IP monetization strategy. He works closely with CTOs and R&D heads, partners, IP councils, and licensing manager of Fortune 500 companies, IP monetization firms, general IP firms, and law firms. He is the founder and CEO of the Monteso IP. Monteso is a specialist IP service company supporting big corporate firms, top law firms, universities, top IP broking firms, many independent practitioners, investors, and startups from the USA, Europe, and Asia. He is the director of the Client Relations International Excellence Forum, which is one of its kind organization with the vision to bring out excellence in every industry. IEX Forum organizes its meeting all around the world. Azam is also the founder and director of World Litigation Forum, California. Mr. Azam Ghani, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan. I'm glad that I'm able to join this forum. So that's one of my expertise. I said that, I also organize international conferences on intellectual property laws. And this was the great opportunity to get in touch with these students. So, and I'm glad that I'm here. So my focus of the talk will be, again, the students who will be leading the India's mission of Atma Nirbhar Bharat. So I would like to start with this, the basic understanding of the intellectual property laws. So to start with, what is this intellectual? So intellectual shares the same root as with the intelligence, which means, something which has related to mind. So intellectual is something coming out of the mind, and property, you already know it, right? So some home is your property, or, some bike or something you own is your property. So what is intellectual property? So intellectual property is something which is the creation of your mind, and it is your property, right? So for example, some idea is coming to you, or some kind of, thoughts you're writing, maybe in a form of a book, or some kind of music piece you're creating out of your mind, and then some kind of a new company name or a brand name you're creating. All these things are creation of your mind. So the first thing, which is called patent, that is purely related to the innovations in technological form. So what really is a patent? So many of you might have an idea. The patent is a piece of legal right which is provided to you by the government for keeping others away from your invention. So others mean, like, they cannot sell, they cannot practice, they cannot manufacture your invention when you get this patented. Now, another thing which is quite important is this trademark. Trademark is something, if you are starting a company, or you are creating certain brand names. Say for example, the company name was WS Retail. They created a brand name called Flipkart. So they need to register Flipkart, their brand name, with the government again, because the government provides you the rights for using that trademark solely, so that nobody else can use that trademark. And there are certain other things in the intellectual property which is called copyright, so which is true for the the books, the writings, as well as the the music pieces. And also we have geographical indications, wherein the things like Kolhapuri Chappal, these come under these geographical indications. These geographical indications are actually represent the products originating from a particular area. Another example of geographical indication is basmati rice, right? So they are coming from a special place. That's why they are being called basmati rice. So now, with the basic understanding of intellectual property rights, is like, whatever your mind is creating has to be safeguarded with the help of the government. Then you can use it further for your business. So why it is important for the startup? We need to understand this. So let's look why patent is important for the startup. So the first thing is patent provides is like continuous innovation. Say for example, if you start a company like, which is a technology company, maybe let's assume you are a mobile phone manufacturer. Now, what really happens is that we have seen the downfall of Nokia. They did not innovate continuously, right? And then later they found themselves in a race that they are lacking behind. And then everybody else like Samsung, Micromax, and other companies are far ahead in the innovation. And then they have developed new products. So we must continue to, innovate, and then file for the patents, and then reward employees for the patent. That's how you will, be able to do the continuous innovation. Now, another important reason why you should do the patent is the valuation. So, for example, if your company is worth like $10 million, but you have 1,000 patents, so the company's valuation will definitely shoot up with the help of the patents. So this really helps. If you have heard about the Nortel case, the whole company was shut down, and it had 9,000 patents. So now in the end, the Google and the others together bought this whole 9,000 patent portfolio in maybe like billions of dollars. So this thing, the patent creates the high amount of value. So even if your company dies, the patent never dies. Now, the third thing, the patent do is, of course, as I said in the beginning, that they protect you from the rivals. Nobody else can copy your patents, and then you will be able to compete with the big companies if you are able to create the patent. And the fourth thing, if you are a startup and then you are looking forward for the VC funding, then of course you definitely should discuss about the patent filings, because the venture capitalists invest in companies whenever their intellectual property rights are protected. Because now imagine if you haven't protected your idea, and then somebody else, a big company or a rival, can copy your idea. Why the venture capitalists would invest money into your company? Because now, as of now, because it is not being protected, anybody else can copy it. Now, the last thing is of course, the wealth creation. As I said, the Nortel, in the end, after killing the whole company, they sold in billions of dollars patent. So the startups must focus on, building the patent portfolio in the early days. It has lots of advantages, as I already said. Now, other than the patent, another important thing for the startup is the trademark. You must, file for the trademark. It is not costly in India. Maybe you'll invest 7,000 or 8,000 rupees for filing a trademark. And what trademark does is it gives you the brand recognition. It protects from others using your brand name. For example, a brand name called Levi's, the jeans company. Nobody else can use their brand name and then sell the jeans similar to that company. So, and then people definitely recognize right away that Levi's is a good brand, and then everything, the passion and the good things associated with the brand pops up automatically when you have a brand name registered. Now, and of course, if you keep the trademark, registration, it will help you in averting future legal issues. So, for example, I recently came across a case where somebody has used the Hard Rock as a gym name, but later, they received a legal notice from a company who has already registered a trademark with the Hard Rock. And then I actually advised them to stop using their name, because they had pretty strong follow-up of their trademarks. And you must avoid these legal issues, because they will divert your, attention from focusing onto the company. Because, and in the startup, it is very important that you focus on your business rather than these legal kind of issues. So you definitely look forward for the opportunities to register their trademarks. And then, of course, trademarks, when they are, recognized as a brand, and then the employees, you get the best employees, when your trademark is registered, and then you have a good brand recognition. For example, the big brands like Facebook, Google, employees proudly say that, they're working with this particular company. Why? Because they have a strong brand recognition, and then this works as a strong incentive for the employees. So I've covered these two basic things, these trademark and the patent, in this presentation. But nevertheless, if you have any specific question, regarding the intellectual property rights, I'll be more than happy to take up your questions. And I'm always available for any kind of information you need for the patents. IIPLA is the International Intellectual Property Law Association based out of San Jose, but we have our an office in India as well, and then we have been helping companies filing the patents in more than 150 countries, not just in India. So next time, if you have a breakthrough idea, if you want to save that idea for multiple countries, I'll be more than happy to help you there. And I'm really great and thankful for the whole team that they gave us the opportunity to talk in this forum. And then I would be more than happy to continuously part of this. And if needed, I can come down and discuss this further in physical form as well, where I can meet with people and then make them understand the importance of intellectual property rights for the startups. And I hope and wish that startups from Jamia will do great things in future, as I'm from Jamia as well. So I've been very focused on innovations. Anytime, I'll be more than happy to be available. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Have a good one.
Thank you, Mr. Azam Ghani, for your valuable talk on the IPR issues. The next topic is the next dimension, the role of resource partners in the framework of NISP, and the talk will be delivered by Dr. Adil Khan. Dr. Adil Khan is an entrepreneur, a researcher, and academician. He is a co-founder of Confermatics Private Limited, a one-of-kind resource organization dedicated to empower academic ecosystem. He has received his PhD and MBA from Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. He is also associated with Jindal University, where he teaches entrepreneurship and marketing and takes care of university's innovation and incubation activities as well. He has helped in the incubation of several startups as a mentor. His research work is primarily deals with the behavioral aspects of entrepreneurship and consumerism, in which he has published several research papers. He has previously worked with Genpact India in different capacities. Now I welcome Dr. Adil Khan for his talk. And before that, I request the participants, if they have any queries, they can put their question in the chat box, and that I will summarize, and that will put up after this presentation. Dr. Adil Khan, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, very warm good afternoon to all the panelists and the participants. I was a bit late to join because I think it was already full. And today I'll talk about the role of resource partners in NISP framework. So first of all, let's have a look at the basic purposes of NISP. And in its document, NISP has listed some 5 basic purposes, and I'll just read out those purposes, and then I'll talk about how different resource partners and they may align with these purposes. First thing, NISP said that one of the purposes is to promote students-driven innovation and startup, engage the students and faculty in innovation and startup activities in campus. Third is nurturing innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem. Fourth, developing creative problem solving and entrepreneurial mindset. Fifth, partnership, intra and inter-institutional partnership with ecosystem enablers. So these are the 5 basic purposes which are listed by NISP policy. So we can generalize these 5 like these purposes as like the overarching purpose is to boost entrepreneurship in general. And if you see more closely, we specify it. The purpose is to develop an entrepreneurial ecosystem in the country, and further, more specifically, developing a university-centered entrepreneurial ecosystem in the country. So we will look at the NISP framework. Further, NISP also has proposed components of guiding frameworks, where it proposed 9 components for guiding the NISP implementation. So there are 9 points, and I will come to the point number 4. Actually, I had a presentation which is not visible, which says, the point number 4 says the collaboration, co-creation, business relationship, and knowledge exchange within campus and among the ecosystem enablers should coexist at regional and national level. The the idea of entrepreneurship cannot exist without having a good ecosystem. And the ecosystem in any country can be developed with the help of university, taking them as a epicenter, and developing other stakeholders and their linkage with the university. So startup ecosystem is formed by people, and startups in their various stages and various types of organization in location, that may be like physical location and virtually even, and interacting as a system to create new startup companies. So all the participants, all the stakeholders in that ecosystem, one way or another, they help each other in further nurturing or developing this ecosystem and creating more organizations. So these organizations can be divided into several categories, or there are several stakeholders. So these stakeholders are universities, the funding organizations, the support organizations like the incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, etc. They may be research organizations. There may be resource partners. Like the purpose of partners is to provide resources such as knowledge, legal, and financial resources. And there are some large organizations which also work with the startups and the universities ecosystem. So different organizations, they typically focus on some specific part of the ecosystem, and they function at the different stages of startup. So I hope the idea of talking about resource partners, because it is important to understand the role of various stakeholders, and some stakeholders which are like resource partners, they help these startups, and specifically startups in educational context and university setting, and those universities which want to develop or help their students in starting businesses or budding startups, both of them can take help from the resource partners. So some of the resource partners, for example, previously joined like IPR advices, they are giving advices, they are giving, and Integrado kind of companies, they're kind of resource partners, and they will help the nurturing of this ecosystem, education ecosystem, at various stages of the startup development. So I list some resource partners, and these are like advisory and mentoring partners. They may be funding and consulting partners, maybe legal consulting partners, and management consulting partners, technology brokers, maybe IPR experts, training and skill development experts, tool developers, and service providers, event organizers, portals, forums, groups, etc. So why they are important? If we see, the purpose of NISP is to develop entrepreneurship in all sizes of educational institutes. So even there are some big universities, they may have some of these things. They may help students in some of these activities, which these resource partners, which I have listed, which I have just named, they may provide those services or consulting facilities. But small organizations or small colleges, they won't be able to provide all of these services to the, or all of these mentoring services to the students or startups. So it is important to understand their roles, so that we can have an idea about their existence in this ecosystem. So advisory and mentoring partners, as they are the integral part of the startup ecosystem. Advisory and mentoring partners help startups in pre-incubation and the takeoff stage. An advisory and mentoring partner may provide its consulting and advice in many areas. Likewise, they can have in the development of the executive summary. They can help in elevator speech and other initial documents. They can have that financial forecasting. They can develop a business model canvas and a pitch presentation development, and like some go-to-market strategies for developing a new product, or looking for the new market sectors and new market segments. They can help in developing the comprehensive business plan, their review or their enhancement. They can help in capital raise, consulting, and the network connection. So there are many pieces of advice and services can be provided by the advisory and mentoring partners. Then next list of is of resource partners is the funding consulting partners. Funding consulting organizations, they act as a bridge between funding sources. This may be public or private support organizations such as universities, research organizations, or incubators. And second is startups to get funding for innovation and for startup development activities. So funding consulting organizations may also help to get funding through new funding solutions, such as angel investors or crowdfunding. So they are specialized in funding consulting organizations for different funding requirements. These are funding consulting specialized in acquisition of public-private funding for research, and funding consulting organizations in acquisition of funds in the form of loan or say grants from, like, say, government sources, for example, say Mudra, Startup India, etc., and from venture capital funds, banks or NBFCs. So then next kind of resource partners are legal consulting partners. Legal consulting partners, they may help a startup ecosystem by providing legal advices in many areas. For example, legal advices in the formation of business, deciding the type of organizations, having the co-founder agreements, contract with employees, policies and stock options, commercial contracts, data privacy and protection, legal and regulatory framework of investment funds, legal and secretariat due diligence, and dispute resolution. So these are some legal services which can be provided by the legal consulting partner. Management consulting partners, they help startups in improving their performance. They study the external environment for the startups and developing strategies, planning and vendor sourcing, the pricing of the projects, helping in business branding. So some of various partners, various kinds of resource partners, they may have some overlapping services. So there is no clear demarcation. Next thing is technology brokers. Technology brokers are people who discover how to bridge the emergent world and apply the scientific concept or processes to new situation or circumstances. They work on like unstructured problem, or they try to solve the unstructured problems of their clients. So they keep an eye on inventors and technologies processes they have developed. They identify the people, organizations who may be interested in commercializing these technologies or processes, and then they facilitate the technology transfer. Next kind of resource partners are IPR experts. So they are extremely important as a part of ecosystem. I think the importance of IPR experts has been sufficiently discussed in Mr. Ghani's talk. So training and skill development partners. The next in the list is training and skill development partners. So a robust training and skill development is very much required to nourish the budding entrepreneurs. And apart from the academicians from the base university, a lot of industry experts are required to train various skill set to the entrepreneurs. There is a requirement of these kind of training and skill development partners as well. Then there are tool developers, service providers. Like there's some specific tools may be required by the startups. So tool developers, they help in like, for example, they may act in different functionalities, maybe like project management. They might help tracking the finance and sharing the documents, connecting with the network, or maybe managing the social media marketing teams. And last on the list and is the event organizers, portals, forums, groups, and so on. So why these? I have talked about some of the resource partners. Why these are important for startups from universities context. So it can be viewed from this perspective. Like we have the NISP has advocated that universities should facilitate entrepreneurship for both faculties and as well as students. This is one aspect of it. And another thing, that university should provide various kind of activities and various kind of facilitation to the students so that entrepreneurship can be promoted. And universities should connect with different stakeholders, different partners. And primarily, what I'm talking about today is the role of resource partners. So different kinds of resource partners can be connected with a new university, and this connection can be developed with the startups and faculties, and maybe with faculties and the resource partners, and startups and the resource partners. And two kind of connection can be made. And these two stakeholders in the university, faculty and students, can take help or leverage from these resource partners. So in today's symposium, I joined a bit late, and so I have I listened to Shakur Bhai, and what his company is doing is they're playing a role of resource partner, and then Mr. Ghani, they're also playing a role of resource partner. They are providing the specific services. So the idea is the university should connect with these partners so that they can leverage their startup, and they can further add in this entrepreneurial ecosystem in this country. So startups, they do not exist and cannot exist in vacuum. They are born in a specific context, as they are part of a big network, big entity as a system, and they're much bigger than themselves. The entrepreneurs, they are supported by a community of people, community of organizations, and other startups which are like around them. So this is what I'm referring, like we are referring to startup ecosystem, and resource partners. They are like individuals or the organizations. They should be considered as very integral part of the healthy and productive startup ecosystem. So at Confermatics, we also provided support services to budding entrepreneurs. And most of the problems we solve, they're unstructured. Like startups, they come with their problems, and we create case studies for them, and then we elicit their problems, they further probe and understand their problems better, and they provide them a case study with solution. And when they agree, they provide them full-fledged, customized solution to the startup and to higher education institutes. So on this note, I'm finishing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Adil Khan, for discussing the role of resource partners, one of the key stakeholders in the startups. Hope the participants will be benefited with all the talks. Now we are coming to the last part of the program, that is symposium. That is concluding remarks and vote of the thanks by Professor Arshad Noor Siddiqui. Professor Arshad Noor Siddiqui is a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. He is the coordinator and convener of National Innovation and Startup Policy at Jamia Millia Islamia. He is also the in charge of Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Jamia. Dr. Siddiqui has also worked in AIST on deputation. Dr. Siddiqui has PhD in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Delhi. He has published more than 200 research papers in reputed international journals with more than 2,500 citations and 27 H-index on Google Scholar. He has also published seven books and has 5 patents to his credits. He is recipient of Raja Ram Bapu Patil National Award for Promising Engineering Teacher. He has a member of different professional bodies like Senior Member of Society of Manufacturing Engineering, USA, Member of Society of Automotive Engineers, USA, Life Member of Indian Society for Technical Education, New Delhi, etc., etc. Now I request Dr. Arshad Siddiqui to give his concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Dr. Arshad, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Kamrul Hassan. I really thank you for doing the honors, and it's my duty rather to thank all all those involved in the on-air as well as off-air activities to organize this program. And I would, before a formal thank would like to sum up in one line. And I would like to relate this ecosystem with a very common term. Say, for example, there is a need of a vehicle. And a vehicle is a car. And a car has to drive. There are three aspects. One, there is a need of a vehicle. Another one is a car is a vehicle, and it is to drive. If we relate these three aspects with this innovation ecosystem, then I would place it like this. Say, for example, Dr. Ramanan is the need of the vehicle. And Mr. Deepan Sahu is the car by itself. And all these young enablers, what we also call it as the stalwarts, be them Mr. Abdul Shakur or Dr. Iyengar or Mr. Ashu Agrawal, or for that matter, Mr. Azam Ghani, who joined from USA, or Mr. Adil Khan. These are all the young people who actually drive this vehicle, which actually is represented by Mr. Deepan Sahu. This is how it is actually working. Now, in case of, say, for example, HEI, say, for example, Jamia Millia Islamia, the need for a vehicle is the source or the fountainhead. And it comes from the NISP policy. So NISP policy is the need for a vehicle. And the car, what you related to, is the ecosystem that is built on NISP. And the car has to run. It requires a fuel and a driver, efficient driver. Then only it will run. So it will require the IIC to run, actually. That car has to run based on IIC activities, and it has to be a driver. There has to be an efficient driver for the IIC. That is how it is actually. Ecosystem, what we call it. Ecosystem comprises of a policy and an infrastructure and some kind of system to drive on. There is another aspect of it. The third aspect. Two aspects is in relation to the MOE and the external enablers. Another one is the internal levers to HEIs and those who are responsible to create those levels. Now, in that, our Honorable Vice Chancellor is the fountainhead, that is the policy. And entire administrative system, be it the Office of the Registrar and the Office of the OSD or Deans, all office bearers form the vehicle as a car. And the IIC activity is the system which actually runs the car. So this is how it is, and this is how actually I perceive it to be. Now, coming on to the formal thank, I would like to admit that I am really grateful for all those who are actually behind off air or on air to make this program a success. And I also apologize for the beginning hitches. It got delayed maybe for half an hour's time, and some kind of login hitches were there, and for that I apologize for that. I would like to thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor, who is the fountainhead behind the driving force to the activities which relate to innovation, startup, and entrepreneurship, and which have just started taking the position on the springboard to dive in. Now, I also would like to thank the Registrar, Dr. Jafri Saab, Jamia Millia Islamia, who has always been supportive and considered all activities related to innovation and startup as well as entrepreneurship on priority, and has always addressed to the various issues involved with it. I also would like to thank the Office of the OSD, Professor Mukesh Ranjanji, who has always proactively supported this. And along with that, I would like to also thank Dr. Ramanan, because speaking from the horse's mouth, nothing better than that. And he, being the main think tank on this entire innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem all over the country, he along with his team of mentors, and who so effectively leading. I am surprised how he could actually so effectively manage all these things, because it was hardly within 1 or 2 days wherein we actually explored the availability, and it was all done. And that is really tremendous and marvelous. And I also would like to thank Mr. Deepan Sahu, who is doing tremendous effort in mobilizing all the resources involving all HEIs and across different regions in the country, and making the IISc run in synchronized manner. So that is really a tremendous task. I must congratulate you, Mr. Deepan Sahu. Apart from that, I would also like to thank the stalwarts of this ecosystem, Mr. Partha Sarthi, who actually enabled this platform to be available without hitches once it goes on air. Mr. Partha Sarthi, thank you very much. And Ashu Agarwal Saab, who actually manages the venture capital acceleration activities of incubations and angel funding, and he is well into the ecosystem for quite some time. I also thank to him. And regarding IPR issues, Mr. Azam Ghani, who joined us from USA, I really would like to thank him, because it is very odd hours for him, and he joined this event. Thank you very much. And Adil Khan Saab, who actually spoke mainly on creating network of stalwarts. So that is actually one of the key issues in the innovation ecosystem. And Abdul Shakur Saab, I would also like to thank you, and because I know you worked day and night for this, and made a lot of effort to make this program actually happening. And apart from that, the office of CIE also is there. Mr. Shiraz, he has really done a commendable job. So and last but not least, Professor Kamrul Hassan, who did the honors for this, and actually moderated this event in a very wonderful, nicely manner. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank each and every one of you. And of course, all those are always there whose name I could not read out. It is not possible because the schedule is already delayed, and all those who directly, indirectly contributed to, I am really grateful to them. And most of all, Jamia administration, because who permitted this activity at the very short notice. Professor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, thank you very much, ma'am, and Registrar Saab, thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir. Kamar Saab, now it is you to please kindly conclude with the permission of.
Thank you, Professor Asha Saab. Should we conclude this symposium, or should we have to convey this message to Madam Vice Chancellor, or should we conclude it?
Thank you very much. Sure. Please.
Should we conclude? Okay. So now we have come to the end of this symposium, and hope we will have many more symposium in the near future, and all this panelists will be with us. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and thank you very much. Wish you all the best.